Oh, did he? Oh. New underscore. Oh. Okay. Is it from like is it because of his like he was Office of Nick Champion and stuff? Is it to do with that? Yeah. Yeah. I have no idea right now. Yeah, we have to ask Will while he's rude. You might not remember me. I think it was the year above, but my sister.
The only other thing is that next meeting we have a training.
Okay.
So that's that last thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Just to take note of that, yeah.
So you
Okay. We shall start the meeting at 6:31. We would like to start with a statement of acknowledgement. We would like to acknowledge this land that we meet on today is the traditional lands of the Kaurna people and that we respect their spiritual relationship with their country. We also acknowledge the Kaurna people as the custodians of the Greater Adelaide region and that their cultural and heritage beliefs are still as important to the living Kaurna people today. Move on to the attendance record, the roll call. We have apologies from Amelia, Lucy, Ethan Palmer and Ethan White. Do we have any motions to grant leave of absence? None. We do not have any current leave of absence, and I don't believe we have any non-attendance. No. We'll move on to the public open forum. Leslie Humphrey from Pays for Play will be sharing some information on playgrounds and play spaces. Oh, okay. We may have to come back to her. We'll move on to declarations of interest then. Do we have any declarations of interest? No. And if we've all had a look at the minutes from last month, could we have a confirmation of the minutes? Do we have any discussion in regards to the minutes? No, I'll just note that my question on notice has not come back as of yet, potentially next month, or there might be a post on Facebook within the week, we should see. Could I have a mover? Darcy, and a seconder, Xanthi? All those in favour? Carried unanimously. We'll move on to 6. Sorry, that was business. 7 decision reports. Just a note that the Gyac currently has 11 members, and with our 2 potential new members tonight, we would have 13. It should be noted that Lucy Smarchy has resigned from the Gyac. We'll move on to 7.1, the appointment of members, and we'll ask each of our 2 potential members to come up and explain to the group why they wish to join the Gyac, explain a little bit about themselves, and potentially members can ask questions, and you can even ask us questions if you'd like. We'll start with Ren Bennett, if you'd like to come up. Yeah. I'll let you go.
Good evening, committee members. I'd like to be part of the Gawler Youth Advisory Committee because Gawler is my hometown, and I'd like to be involved in discussions surrounding issues about the local community and youth. I've been involved in community work for many years, mainly with music. I used to volunteer in elder care nursing home performing music for the residents. My involvement with Gawler Youth Band means I've been able to perform music for my local community, and because this is really important to me. So on the topic of the Gawler Youth Band, I was also instrumental in the concept and writing of the original song that we did, White Collar. Yeah, I really enjoy working with others to come up with collaborative ideas. I'm a good listener, and I'd really like to be part of the Gawler Youth Advisory Committee because I'd like to represent the youth in our future direction of our town, particularly in the areas of arts and culture. Thank you for the opportunity.
Awesome. Does anyone have any questions? I'll ask a question then. How old are you and which school do you go to / went to?
I'm 15, and just go to local. I can expand on that later.
Any other questions? No, we'll move on then. Thank you for that. To Max Scribble.
Cool. Good evening, guys. I guess my reasons for joining are I've grown up in Gawler my entire life. I moved here when I was 3 and I'm 20 now. Went to school with Darcy and Jade over at Trinity. Also went down to a school down south as well the last 3 years. I guess, I love Gawler. I think it's an amazing place, but obviously when you love something, you also want to see some change in that community. Because obviously nowhere's going to ever be perfect and there's always going to be room for improvement. So I think being part of the Gawler Youth Advisory Council would give me an opportunity to even make slight improvements to the community around me, pay back for what I was given as a child. I guess it's as simple as that. There's not much more to say than that. It's about, giving back to the community and, and at the same time gaining some leadership experience as well, and meeting new people, because I'm sure you guys are all pretty great. And I know Cody over there, good friend of mine, but I guess that's about it. If anyone has any questions.
Yes. Any questions? In your main interest, you've said that you have an interest in urban planning. What kind of sparked your interest in urban planning?
That's a good question, actually. I don't even know where it came up. I guess it's just naturally come up as a topic of interest. I think a lot of it comes back to the life of our young people in particular is very dependent on the environment that we build for them. Because one thing I think we need to look at a bit more in Gawler, for example, is that there's a lot we need to improve in our built environments so that it's a much more enjoyable place for young people to basically just exist in, right? There's obviously still a lot to do as a young person, but there's a lot of improvement I think we should bring about in the north. And particularly my travels in Europe, for example, has shown me that there are a lot of other ways of doing things that I think we could take some ideas from and implement here. And so I guess it's about starting that discussion on, what we're doing right currently in urban planning, what we're also doing wrong and what should be improved. And I think young people should be an important aspect of that discussion because I think they're often forgotten in the urban planning context.
Awesome. Any other questions? No, thank you both very much. We'll have to ask both of you to leave the room. Abby, would you like to walk them out and close the door behind you? Oh yeah, we got to get all the new members to learn how to use the door.
Let you back in.
Oh yeah. Oh no, you can come back in. We're not kicking you out. Okay. Okay. Do we have any discussion in regards to our potential new members? Maybe we'll start with Ren, seeing he spoke first. Does anyone have any opinions? 15, that's kind of a middle to lower spectrum of us. Yes, Nancy?
I think he's pretty cool.
Okay. Anyone else, Jack?
I was going to say that, yeah, they both seem very keen and engaged to be part of the fabric of the Gyac and the Gawler community. And I think, yeah, we'll definitely benefit from having the passion and expertise.
Yeah, look, I mean, Max, I've been trying to get to come on the committee for a while. He sends me messages being like, oh, have you thought about reducing the speed limit on residential roads? Or because I went to Europe or whatever, and I'm like, just join the committee. So I think there should be some good stuff coming from all that.
Any other discussion, any questions? Nope, we will move on to a vote then. Paper or hands, doesn't matter. Hands, we'll do a hand vote. So we will start with Ren then. For those who would wish for him to join the committee, please raise your hand. Carried unanimously, and for Max, please raise your hands. Carried unanimously. Would you like to try and open the door so they can come back in? Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry.
Hang on.
Oh, wait, we have to move in second first, sorry. You can-
Not yet. Hang on.
Can I have a mover first? Sorry. Abby Dale, and a seconder? Xanthi? All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Okay, now you can bring them back in. I always forget that part. Press and hold. There you go. There you go. So with the officer's recommendation that the Gawler Youth Advisory Committee recommends to council that it notes the expression of interest from Max Scribble and Ren Bennett for membership to the Gawler Youth Advisory Committee. Having considered the expression of interest from the two candidates for the vacant Gawler Youth Advisory Committee positions, council appoints Max Scribble and Ren Bennett to the Gawler Youth Advisory Committee for a period of 2 years. So congratulations to you both. Next month, you'll be sitting on these tables with us and you have your own name cards, which we all love. This month. And with that, we will move on to 7.2, the Youth Development Update. Debbie, would you like to speak to the report?
Yes, thank you, through the chair. So July school holidays, posters and information bookings are all open and people have started booking in. So we're quite excited. We've got a few different programs. Thank you to a lot of the young people on our committee that have been involved in helping us come up with some new ideas. We are also calling if any of the youth advisory committee members that are current volunteers with us would like to help in the school holidays, because we are doing a few different things. We're doing a photography walking tour. We're doing quite a few things like that. So if you do wish to, you know, put your hand up to do that, if you can let me know after the meeting, then we'll hold you a place. We're currently working on term 3 and term 4 programs, which include a couple of different programs around career support and job opportunities and entrepreneur courses in partnership with the library. So we'll announce more information on that as soon as we can, and we'll be calling if anyone wants to be involved and if they've got the opportunity to be involved. That would be great. Next month, there is a couple of youth advisory photos that we need to update, which will also include the 2 new members. If once they've been passed through council, we'll take their photos as well. So we'll probably request on our page or send you a text message to wear your youth advisory shirts so you can have a new photo. Those of you that have already had those will remember the jumping photos we had. So we're just updating the ones that haven't, you know, jumped high in the air yet. The other thing is that next meeting we'll put a report to the committee about the training for the committee for the next 6 months, as well as the meeting dates, so that everybody is clear. And Jade will obviously let you know that next meeting we also have we'll remind you that we have committee training. So at the beginning of the meeting, we're going to have committee training, then we'll go into our meeting. So the meeting will start about half an hour later, but we will still have committee training from 6:30. So it'll be really good to do that and then actually have a meeting. Perfect timing to have 2 new members as well, because then they'll get that training. So a lot of you haven't had committee training yet, so that's going to be really good for that. And yes, that's probably all from me for now, unless anyone's got any questions.
Any questions? No. Could we have a mover for the Youth Development Officer update? Abby Dale and a seconder, Jack. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. We will move on to 7.3, which is eligibility criteria and guidelines in the youth sponsorship programs. Deb, you might be able to speak to this more, but I just have a note that maybe it's an opportunity for us to discuss our thoughts on changing the criteria from 12 to 25-year-olds instead of the current, which is who's open to under 25. Oh, under 12 and 25. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Oh, okay. Does anyone have any questions or discussion in regards to this? Cody.
And just clarifying what you were just talking about. So what's the situation with the 12 to 25 again?
Would you like?
Through the chair. So at the moment, the guidelines state that it is, you can put an application in, they will be considered outside the age of 12 to 25, which is not the youth age. And after the last round of voting, we accepted some younger applicants and they were all approved, which was the committee's decision. But then there was a lot of discussion around about if we aren't careful now in the new financial year, what happens if we keep doing that? It opens up for a lot of other applications and we're getting to the extent of the budget. So there was a discussion around that. So that's where this has come from.
I mean, I guess I'm happy for the youth to have its, stick to its own criteria, but it might be good to work with, I think, the library or who to talk to about the under 12 demographic. Maybe we can work to, I don't know, redirect some people if they come in from under 12. I don't know.
Yes, because of my understanding of all the applicants outside of the brackets that we've accepted, they've all been under 12. I don't think we've ever had an over 25 apply. So I personally don't mind having the 12 to 25 and then we discuss if they're younger. But maybe there's a better pathway for younger applicants to, potentially through the library or something to receive their own allocation of funding. Any questions? Is anyone a bit confused? Yeah, a little bit. To remove the strict 12 to 25 bracket, to have an open bracket. Other way to have we're voting to have a strict 12 to 25. Okay, I'm also confused. We currently have it open, but we're voting to have a strict 12 to 25. Okay. Any questions? Any clarification needed? No? Okay. Maybe you can clarify a little bit more for us. Or David, yes.
So through the chair, just to be really clear, so at the moment with the youth sponsorship categories, we run multiple rounds in a year, as those who have been on the committee are aware of. Historically, it's been targeted 12 to 25, which is the youth age. However, it's been open to applications outside that if the committee agrees. We've seen an increase in applications over recent months. and with COVID restrictions around travel being abolished, essentially, we're expecting more applications in the future. So staff have a concern that in round one, we might have a large set of applications outside the youth bracket of 12 to 25 that the committee goes, yep, not a problem. But then we don't have sufficient funds in the budget in future rounds to fund youth age bracket applications. So that's why we're recommending that we remove the ability to recommend applications outside that 12 to 25 age bracket, so that we do have enough budget capacity over the year, because this is a rolling program over the 12 months to fund youth age applications, if that makes sense. Hopefully that clarifies.
Thank you very much. Okay. Yes, Jack, go for it.
Just, I guess, just sort of stress testing it. What happens if we say for one round get more or by the end of the financial we get more sorry, let me go back. The round one of FY 2024, we get more applicants than what we normally take in, and then we have to sort of like essentially decide a cutoff. Would we, as a committee, decide to cut people off, like okay, the top X number, prioritizing those that are in the age bracket, or would we? I guess I'm just trying to figure out, like, if we did keep it in, how would we as a committee decide who should get the funding? Because I guess we haven't really ever been in that position before, in terms of we might get like we've got like 6 in 1, no, 8, 11, 1 and 4. So we've never really been in a position to say yay or nay. It's pretty much always just been approval. But I'm just kind of wondering, because in that situation, yeah, what would we do? So yeah, just a bit more of a thinking question.
Does anyone have any comment on Jack's discussion? No? Yes, if you could.
So through the chair, Jack, it's a little bit hard to understand what the ramification will be at the first round, because it's the impact on the last round that is in issue. And we wouldn't be able to hold off on awarding sponsorships to people pending available funds at the end of the year, because their application would be 12 months prior. So it's the compounding effect across the year, not just round by round. The only way you may be able to open it up to the under 12s, which is, I want to just really stress, that's outside what is defined as youth, number one, and these are for youth. It's a youth sponsorship. But if you wanted to, the only way I could see of doing it would be you could make the last round available subject to funds left. But prior to that, you don't know how many you're going to get across the financial year.
Ready?
Yeah, so I was just, I guess, from what I was talking about earlier, if there isn't, because maybe we could have a third point or something that's just, you know, like investigating the need for the sponsorship funding for under 12s in the community to, you know, but not necessarily for the youth committee, but just because if that is something, if we're getting a bunch of these applications, then it means it's something useful to under 12s in the community, but it's not our remit. So maybe we can have a point about investigating, you know, something that just could be a general community development or library side thing, but worth maybe putting a third point in there.
Okay. So just for a note, if you haven't read the agenda yet, we have a total allocation of $6,000. In the past, for the sponsorship paid in 22 to 2023 was 2,900. So in previous, it hasn't expended our allocation of funds, but that could, of course, with international travel and more opportunities for young people in South Australia to travel internationally and also nationally, that could increase drastically over the next year. So we do need to be mindful of just how quickly these numbers could rise if we're not careful. Yes, Emerson?
In my opinion, thinking this, it is seeming we don't have enough numbers to know and take the risk of letting under 12s apply. And it seems that since we don't know any variables or have enough information, keeping it between 12 and 25 seems to be our best option. Because if we let under 12 go in, then let's say we reach round 3 and there's a 16-year-old needing funds and we can't fund it in their youth age, but we funded 5 11-year-olds or something like that. Doesn't seem fair, in my opinion.
Darcy? I like the idea of keeping the under 12 bracket till the last round, and then if we have funds left over, we could sponsor them, even if they apply like 11 or 12 months in advance, as long as they know that they won't be receiving anything until 12 months later. So, yeah. Yeah, would there be the potential to have like a clause underneath? It's saying that if you're under the age bracket to apply well in advance, and potentially you could receive funding. If the committee agrees with that, is there any discussion on having a clause for under 12s or over 25s even to, actually, what's our opinion on over 25s? When we discuss youth and youth sponsorship, do we see those over 25 receiving sponsorship? Does anyone have any discussion on that? Jack?
I can't really remember when we've ever had someone over 25 apply, so I think it's been more of the school aged programs have been the main sort of source of these applications. So I don't think we're too worried about over 25s applying in this scenario. Although, who knows?
Okay, that's Katie.
Yeah, so, yeah, over 25s, I think it just doesn't. If we start getting applications from 30-year-olds, then we'll deal with it. But I think where there's seemingly a gap in council's thing is in primary school age students. So maybe I've just been trying to figure out wording around what I was saying about a third point, but that council investigate the need or the opportunities for sponsorship of primary school age students, just as a separate point. I don't know if David, if you have any ideas on wording.
So through the chair, potentially point 3 could be considers opportunities for providing sponsorship programs for persons under 12. If you're happy with that.
Okay, is there any final discussion before we move on? Any final questions, Abby? Yes.
Just quickly, I think majority of the people who are involved in the youth programs are like the younger bracket of people. And even then, I think the programs are like intended toward the younger demographic of people in Gawler. So I think it only sort of is fair to keep it directed towards the younger people, because even then there's so many more opportunities for people over 25, like overall, but yeah.
Awesome. Any other discussion, questions? No? Okay. So we'll amend the recommendation to include a third point of considering potential for those under 12 to receive sponsorship. We'll investigate. Yeah. Okay. Could I have a mover then, please? Santhi, and a seconder. If you want, yeah? Edward, seconder. Can I have all those in favor? Carried. That is carried. Okay, we will move on to 7.4, which is our youth traineeship evaluation report, where we will discuss our previous traineeship period. Do we have any discussion onto our youth traineeship? I have a note here that Cody may wish to speak. Wink, wink.
Yeah, look, I'm always happy to speak. That's what they pay me for. So this is something that was this was, I think, I don't know how many people in the committee now who were there a couple of years ago, because we've had a pretty large turnover. But this was a motion of the Youth Advisory Committee to get a trainee. It was a budget bid for $50,000. And it was, and Isaac, who is now a councillor, was sort of heading that up, and that was a big success, I think, and we can see that it's resulted in some major increases to programs delivered and attendance and memberships and all this kind of thing. Noting that it's also, you know, it helps Debbie. It's also a bit more work for Debbie in some ways because she is looking after a trainee, but you can see the results of just how well the youth space has been doing over the past 12 months. I think speak a lot to the value of the traineeship to council, which is only part of the value of a traineeship. It's also the value to the community of training up a young person, and which I think was really appreciated by our trainee. So I guess the next steps are going to be in, because there's no, if we don't do anything, the traineeship won't come back on its own. It needs a new business case, a new sort of presentation to the budget for next year if it's going to go ahead. So we need to, I guess, get some people together and work that out.
Would there be the potential for Isaac to potentially come back and explain to our newer members as what kind of his thinking behind that the development plan was, and potentially have him lead a group of Gyac members? Or is we kind of drawing the line between council and Gyac at this point?
So through the chair, Councillor Solomon could always present to a Youth Advisory Council committee meeting in the future, but I don't think it would be within the best operations to have him leading any future development of a youth traineeship program. That should be led by Gyac itself. Yep.
Any questions or discussion?
Yeah, I mean, it's also about, I guess, training of the young people here to have confidence to present at meetings and to understand budgets and business cases and that sort of thing. So we would want to build from the ground up with potentially people who are less confident or that kind of, because we can provide support. We can get advice from Isaac and the staff and everyone, because I'm sure most people here have never presented a business case for a budget or anything like that. But that's what this committee is here for, is to provide professional development for these people.
Do we have any questions or discussion? Yes, Gyac.
Sorry, I was just going to sort of maybe ask if the committee would be open to having the youth trainee position listed as an item for discussion at a future meeting, to get everyone a month to kind of stew over it, about, you know, if someone wants to take on the role of potentially leading another business case budget bid for another traineeship program position.
We could do that. We could have it brought back as an item at the next meeting. Yeah, that might give time for like Facebook groups to come together and people to discuss what it means to be on a working group like this.
And I'm pretty sure I still have like the files from our workings from last time that I can share with the group.
Awesome. Any questions or discussion, particularly into Isaac coming back and giving a report? Would that be helpful for people who aren't really familiar with what happened with this youth traineeship and how that came about? Yeah? No? Yes? Potentially, we can workshop it. If we bring it back as a discussion, I can still move this. We can still move it, yeah, okay. If there's no further question or discussion, I will ask for a mover. Edward, and a seconder, Abigail. I have all those in favour. Carried unanimously. And with that, we will jump back to our public open forum, which is number 3, because we have Leslie joining us now via Zoom. Hello. Leslie is from Pays for Play, and she'll be sharing information on playgrounds and play spaces. So Leslie, take it away.
Yeah, hi. Thanks, guys. Look, thanks for the time to come and have a quick chat with you. Given there's not too much time, I'm really interested in getting some opinion from the young people around the table here in relation to playgrounds or play spaces, or places that young people like to, let's say, hang out at or around in their local community. Council is developing a strategy that will guide the planning of playgrounds in the town, but we're also really interested in teenagers or older teenagers in terms of places that they like to go to, but also if you guys go to places like playgrounds, or whether you go to places like skate parks or parkour parks. So I guess I've just got a couple of questions, and then would be really interested in some quick comments. In terms of what you do now, or where you prefer to go or hang out with friends when you're away from home, do any of you go to local parks? Can I see a hands up for those that might go to local parks? Okay, Deb, can you do a quick count on that for me?
That's everybody.
Unanimous, everyone. We all enjoy it.
Everyone. So that's what, about 10 people around the table?
Yes.
10? Okay. All right, if I drill down a little bit more, do any of you go to what is traditionally called a playground, you know, where there's swings and slides and whatever?
There's 7.
Okay. That's great. And can you guys tell me what sort of equipment that you use when you do go to playgrounds?
So usually, because the playground is meant for a smaller audience, my friends and I will normally just hang around on the swings, but there is one up, I think it's Carlton Road, that has this like thing that you're meant to hang off, and everyone loves to hang off that. I think the main issues that most teenagers will have with playgrounds is that they are meant for kids, which means that when families do come along, we have to vacate out of respect.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So what would you like to see in those environments that would give you, or legitimize, if you want to put it that way, you being there? What changes could council bring about in those places or add to them?
I think for me, it's also being wary of also the safety for little people, like children using the facilities as well. Because I remember growing out of the monkey bars and being too tall to reach, like, to be able to swing across the monkey bars. But if we were to make those any taller, younger children would have, like, there'd be safety precautions.
Yeah. Yes.
Any other discussion? What do people enjoy when they go to playgrounds? Emerson?
Yep. Okay.
Would it instead be possible at playgrounds to have certain equipment that are designed for older teens or taller, like, rather, because we've got currently every playground's designed for kids and maybe young teens. When you get older, you still go to them because you like it, because it's enjoyable, it's got fond memories. But then you go to equipment like Jay said, the monkey bars, and you can't swing anymore. So would it be a possibility to have places like, well, like in the same park, but like a little bit taller thing?
Yep.
Like,
so like an older teenager version of what's there. Is that where you're going with that, or have you got something else in mind? Or have you been to one that you could say, go see this is great?
Yeah, that's what I mean, like older, same, around the same equipment, just
Yep.
designed for older people.
Yes,
Yep.
Darcy?
There are some playgrounds around that have like that big flying fox, you know, you like sit on the flying fox and you swing down. That's really fun. And those netted swings, you know, like the
Oh,
wet
yeah.
circular ones. That's a
The,
fun
the
one.
net, are you talking about the net climbing pyramid type structures? Is that what you're referring to there?
Mainly, I think she's talking about the like big circular swings that you can sit in.
Yes.
So they're like plastic, they're like netted all together, and you can, some of them like spin all the way around, don't they? Yeah, and they're designed for multiple people, not just for one person.
Yeah, so it's the social aspect of being in a playground that really appeals to you.
I think most people our age would go to the playground with other people.
Yep.
If you're younger, you might just go with your parents, and like that's fun enough for you.
Yeah. One last question, because I think my 5 minutes is nearly up. Do you feel self-conscious being in a playground or in a park, or do you feel comfortable that you've got a legitimate right to be there?
I think most people around like Emerson or sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name.
Leslie. Oh,
Can relate that, you know, if younger children are there, you kind of feel like a bit out of place.
uh-huh.
Like I know I've played on a playground before and I got a weird look by some parents playing with the like 6-year-old kid, and that made me kind of
Yep.
weird. Yeah, we can create playgrounds designed for a little bit of an older demographic.
Yeah. Okay. So you're feeling similar to what the previous respondent said there, that if it was designed for teenagers, for older age groups, then you'd feel more comfortable.
Xanthi?
Yeah, I think another thing that sort of needs to change, like and Edward touched on this, is sort of the mentality around playgrounds, because a lot of the time, even though it's meant to be a play space for young people, parents seem to cut that off at about high school age. So you'll go into a playground, you're about high school age, and that's when you start getting the funny looks, or people start feeling like you shouldn't be going to the playground anymore. And so I think that sort of environment is what makes a lot of teens feel like that space isn't available for them anymore.
Yeah, I get it. Yes, yes. Okay, no, that's some really great feedback. Are there any last comments that you'd like to make?
Yes, we've got a couple. Abby?
I feel like as well, for our like older demographic of people, most of us go to playgrounds at nighttime and we feel really sketchy being there in the dark when there's no lights, just like screaming, flying around on the swing. So maybe having like lights or something there, like LED lights that pop on at night, or solar lights, would make it a bit less scary for both us, which are on the swing, and people going past hearing people yelling.
Yep. No, good point. Good point.
Yeah, definitely sort of same boat as Xanthi in terms of, you know, when we kind of hit that older age, kind of like don't want to be like, parents kind of gave us weird looks. But I also think sort of connectivity to and around playgrounds is something that sort of will help increase, like, I guess, the usage if it's, you know, a clear walking path or some type of network to sort of help, I guess, like when I was a kid, I wasn't, you know, like parents would walk me to the playground and stuff like that because, you know, there wasn't a path or a footpath, so I was, you know, making sure it's safe, but probably that sort of element as well.
Yeah. Okay. So easy to get to, feel safe and comfortable getting there, that sort of thing.
My question is, does what you're focusing on, does that include fitness equipment? Like the one we have at one of our parks in Gawler has fitness equipment. And I think as I grew older, I was kind of like, that felt more like what I should be playing on instead of the swings or the slippery dip.
And the study doesn't include that, but we have been having lots of conversations around teenagers and the fitness equipment and wondering if teenagers actually use it. So are you saying that you do use it, or you feel that that's where you should be instead of in a playground?
I think I got to a point when I was intrigued by the fitness equipment, but I don't see myself going back just for the fitness equipment. If I was to go to a playground, that might be like a little extra bonus that I'd go check out after.
Okay. So it's still more the social motivation to go to a playground.
I think that teenagers will use the fitness equipment, but not as intended. I think that everyone will have fun going on that funny bicycle thing, but it will never be the way that you're supposed to use it.
Yeah, fair enough.
Any other questions, maybe from our guest members, if either of you two have any questions you'd like? Any discussion? No, all good. Anything final before, oh, Cody, of course.
Yeah, I'll just contribute as someone who's older than the age demographic. If there was a flying fox, I would go on it. Whenever my younger cousins come into South Australia, we always go down to St Kilda because there's some great flying foxes and stuff there, and that's just, you know, enjoyable for all ages, though I understand why there are health and safety concerns and that sort of thing around it too.
Okay, no, good comment, good comment. So the flying fox, those sort of risk-taking activities are really quite appealing. Or exhilaration.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. All right. Okay. I think my 5 minutes is about done, Deb.
Probably. Thank you so much, Leslie, for speaking
That-
up.
That's okay.
Get back from you soon.
All right. Keep up the good work, guys. Well done. Cheers.
Bye. Okay. We will jump back to 8.1, which is the chair's verbal update. I had my meeting with the mayor last Monday. We discussed a little bit how Gyac meetings were going. I asked questions in regards to, mostly in regards to the Gawler band and upcoming Gawler show. She talked a little bit about how some of the dog parks and other areas in Gawler are switching to compostable bags. We've done that switch. That's about it. If anyone has anything they'd like for me to discuss with the mayor, maybe any questions they'd like to ask directly to her, please come and talk to me or send me a message. I'm happy to ask whatever questions you guys want. Second part of my update is in regards to the tertiary hub. I'm not sure how many tertiary education members we have here. We've got a couple. I think it is strict right now to tertiary education students, but the hub is kind of a new kind of project that the council has been working on for a little bit, where university or tertiary students can get pretty much 24 access to council building to use the meeting rooms as private study spaces. I have been through my induction. I've had my first private study session in the meeting room and I really enjoyed it. Very, very quiet. I think I was here from like 5 to 7 or something, like really nice, solid study. And it's open to all tertiary students. So if anyone would like to get involved, it is only like a pilot program. So at the end of the year, there'll be a recap and we'll discuss kind of how it went and how people found using it and stuff. And it may continue and it may not. So if anyone wants to get involved while it's open, please speak to either myself or Deb, or there's information on the Facebook page. Yes. Cool. We'll move on to 8.2 then, which is the Youth Advisory Panel update. Amelia is no longer able to attend these meetings due to other commitments. So we're seeking interest from anyone who'd like to be part of this group. Deb, can you explain what it is? Thank you.
Through the chair, Cody, this might be your cup of tea more than mine, but it is Tony Piccolo's Youth Advisory Panel. So he has a panel of youth and they typically, to my knowledge, are at high school and they come together and meet monthly and provide updates on their schools and any issues or topics that are hot on their agendas. And then they come back and report, and that gives him a voice from the youth as well. There's quite a few people on that panel, and Amelia has always represented our council, but unfortunately has now got a conflict. So we're looking for another young person. And if we don't have someone that is still at high school that is able to take that position, then we can possibly talk to Tony and see if he's open for a different member that is interested to attend, but it generally is in school hours.
Do we have any discussion or any interest? Edward, would you like to speak? Or are you just expressing your interest? Expressing your interest? Cool. Anyone else? No? Any discussion or questions in regards to the panel? Cody?
Yeah, I guess just to continue clarifying what it is, I think it is the high schools in Tony Piccolo's state electorate. So that's the town of Gawler plus Xavier, which is in Light Council, and I think Mark Oliphant College, which is in Playford Council, because those are all in his state electorate. And so he has representatives from there and also from the youth committee. So that's what the membership's made up of.
Well, Edward, Deb will get you more information on that. And yeah, I think it would be a good opportunity for you to be able to take what you learned from this group and let us all know how it goes. So thank you. We'll move on to 8.4, which is Bike Month. Gyac, would you like to speak to the point?
Sure. So Bike Month as a campaign was approved by council and at the last council meeting, so it's official. It will happen in October 2023. And so yes, and now we'll have to start thinking about what that will look like. I did see that I've got Abby Dale who's keen to help out. Thank you. And Abby and Debbie have been busy making some really cool graphics. Just been checking them out and they look really nice. And they'll definitely be very helpful in getting people on board. And interestingly, a report from Climate Council came out a few days ago that said that we need to see trips on public transport, walking and riding need to triple in order to reach our climate change goals. So I thought that was quite sort of important that that's come out so recently. And yeah, so it gives a bit more emphasis on the idea of Bike Month as a concept and campaign in Gawler. So if anyone's interested in being involved and helping out, please let me know.
Cool. Is there any discussion, any questions for Gyac?
Yeah, just building on the need for increased, public transport and all that in town. I have heard that the number of trips on the Gawler train line is basically halved from what it was before. Well, I would say COVID, but the real culprit is that the train line was down for 2 years, and everyone learned to use their car to get to work, and now they're used to it. So, encouraging people to get back out of their cars would be always valuable.
I think to add to your point, Cody, the Metro is currently going through they're removing like paper tickets, which means that everything is electronic. You can start to use bank cards on trains and trams, I think, which means a lot of people who don't have electronic money or who don't have access to knowledge of where to buy a Metro card, because even I get confused sometimes, it can be a little bit more difficult to try to jump on this new thing that is now completely daunting and feels inaccessible for them financially.
Yeah, there's talk of removing the Metro card as well and just using bank cards, but I think they've kind of flipped back on that and they're going to stick with the Metro card. Any other discussion? Want to jump back on that?
So yeah, definitely agree, Xanthi, with that point. I also think that because we've recently also got rid of like our Metro Mate app as well, which has made trying to navigate public transport more complicated and use like the Google Maps or different apps. And I kind of like having one app that, told me exactly where I needed to go. And I do think it's kind of maybe this transitional period that we need to either provide education, guidance, or resources to the community to sort of better inform and better support people bounce back. Because yeah, I know I was one of those ones that was a bit guilty of driving to the city during COVID and during the electrification period due to convenience. And yeah, so I definitely see both sides of the discussion and keen to get more people on public transport.
Sorry, another point that I just wanted to bring up was I actually was one of the people that used the Gawler Access buses. And I found that they were actually really good. I don't have a car, I don't have access to a car, so it meant that while I used to work in Golden Grove, so I would be taking multiple buses, but it really wasn't too bad. Like I was one of those people who did use that public access transport and I found it really good.
Awesome. Any other questions, discussion? Okay, I will jump back to 8.3 because I skipped that. To Gore the youth's accessibility to transport kind of ties into what we're talking about. But Gyac, do you have any update on that? What kind of fits into what we've been talking about?
I'm not sure if the accessibility to, I mean, based on the current discussion, it might still be relevant, but I thought that was more just a remainder from Isaac's campaign last year. So I wasn't, when I was looking at the agenda before, I was wondering if we still needed it, but just given on the discussions we just had, it seems that it's still on the table. So yeah, happy to let someone else champion the cause, Xanthi, Cody, or Max or Ren, Eva.
Yeah, so the original one here, well, this was originally on the agenda because they took vought testing away from Gawler and made it more difficult for young people to get their driver's licenses. But you know, if we want to have a more general accessibility with all kinds of transport as a general topic of this Gyac that keeps coming up, then that's, you know, valuable in its own right too. But yeah, that was originally what it was for, was about the removal of vought testing.
I don't think I've been here long enough to know exactly what this was when it was established, but especially considering what has just come out with the climate report and what we would need to do to be more sustainable, it might actually be worth, if this did continue, for it to take a different route into trying to teach younger people about trains and buses, maybe alleviating some of the concerns of the parents, because I have a lot of friends whose parents refuse to let them go on transport because they think it's dangerous. A lot of stuff like that might twofold help people use the public transport more and help cut down on like emissions and car use.
Yes, maybe this point needs to be kind of adjusted. Could potentially still keep the same name, but the ideas and discussion we have around it wouldn't be strict to vought as it was in the past. So yeah, I think it's really good that we're having these discussions. Any other questions, discussion? Darcy?
I take the train an hour and a half each way to get to uni. So I am an expert on the trains, but I've had a lot of people come up and ask me about like, where's the next train? Where's it going? Which like destinations are they? So I think if we just include into the accessibility to transport a lot more education things, posters, maybe more around the train stations about the schedules and stuff. And I think that would make it a lot less daunting for people to use it, because once I got the hang of it, like it's just second nature.
Yeah, particularly, I think it's Tamblyn. I don't take the train from Tamblyn myself, but in Gawler, there's an electronic screen that shows you when the next train is going to be and whatnot. I don't believe there's one of those in Tamblyn. There's just the button you press that kind of tells you when next one's coming. So maybe investigation into that, and if any of our other stations in Gawler don't have screens like that, because it can be very confusing without them. Emerson?
Yeah, on that point, there's, to be honest, it's about 5. Only really the main station have those screens. There's way more stations that are just still the old buttons. Half the time, if they're really old station, it's still the really old button, and sometimes they don't even work. So you could be like pressing it, and then, you know, the next time you press it, it doesn't work. So yeah, just on that point.
I've taken the trains from most stations in Gawler, and I can tell you that Gawler, Oval, Evanston and Tamblyn don't have the screens. I can also say that when they were making the Golden Grove Park and Ride, because I was going there a lot, they actually had an electronic screen with all of the bus times, which I thought might be good for just Gawler Station specifically, because that's where all the buses stop, so you can at least look at the screen and see when the next times are. And more of my own point, but the 493 and 494 only run twice a day. Which means that if there was more accessible, and they run to where the one of the elder care centers is. If that was increased, you might actually see an increase of people using public transport, but I do respect that it had to be taken down because no one was using it, so, yeah.
Yeah, I know the kind of the railway line isn't quite council ground. It's definitely federal to state level. So maybe, yeah, further discussion in this point would kind of, yeah, help Jack.
Sorry, one more thing and then I'll stop. But yeah, the 493 and the 494 have been a big, issue because they do run like in the Evanston loop, they only run in the peak, the morning and afternoons. And I did find it funny that to get from, say, Starplex to the main part of Gawler, it takes 2 buses. And I do think that,
Backwards. You
yeah,
don't even go the other way.
you go the wrong way to get to Gawler, which is, and funnily enough, I was in a Zoom call with the person that designed the original Gawler metro system. And he said that that's not how it's supposed to go. And there's obviously been changes, but I'm keen to say perhaps through this group or through some other organization, try and, get conversations going about how can we design Gawler as a growing town when we're going to, potentially get Concordia and, double our population. How do we get people more on buses? Because the township isn't designed currently to support a doubling in population. Because traffic's already bad. It's going to be terrible if it doubles.
Personally, I'm very invested in the 493 and 494, so if there's any way that that can be better, I'm in, and I'm happy to join another committee.
Yeah, potentially discussion for a potential working group, maybe just to discuss these ideas more in depth outside of meetings. Cody?
Yeah, just in terms of council's role, so yeah, the public transport is state government level, but we, as council, we do have an advocacy role. We can get, as the committee, we have the power to move a motion to go to the council to say, that the mayor writes to the minister or other actions, or that, as has happened before, that the mayor and the chair of the youth advisory committee meet with the minister and all of that kind of thing. So we do have advocacy power as well as simply things that council itself can do.
Awesome. Yes, would you like to speak? You can come into the microphone, of course. There you go.
Cool. Also, one thing we might want to look into is the Gawler train timetable will be updated in the near future. Because at the moment they're starting off the old diesel train timetable. So when all the new electric trains arrive, there will be a new timetable and there will be public consultation during that period. So that's something we could also get involved. And so alongside that, they're also going to have to update all the bus timetables to align with the train ones. So that could be a good opportunity to start the discussion around, yeah, the 493 or the 494, basically. But yeah, also a good discussion about what we want the train timetable to be like as well, because it is a little bit confusing for people at the moment. So, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, maybe there's potential for an advocacy group to come together and discuss this outside of council meetings. We don't have to make decisions on that this week, do we? We can bring this back up at the next meeting and see if anyone has any future ideas. Maybe they yay or nay to start our own small subgroup, and we'll have 2 new members as well who may have their own opinions as well. So if there's no further discussion, any further discussion, questions? Cool. We'll move on then to 8.5, which is the youth programs update. Abby Dale, would you like to speak to this?
Just quickly, I might hand over to other Abby first to talk about cooking because I have a lot of things to talk about.
Okay, awesome.
At cooking, it's fun, like really fun, and it teaches you how to use cooking utensils that you might not have used before. You meet new people, which I have already a lot of new people. You learn to work collaboratively with other people and in a team, and you can discover new foods from other countries or places in the world.
Awesome.
Thank you, Abby. Oh my goodness, there's a lot happening. There's a lot going on. Tomorrow for drama, we're holding our auditions for our end of year performance, which was written by Makala, which is very exciting. We've also been breaking down potential characters in our performance. We've been breaking it into physicality, objectives, super objectives, and actions. Yeah, fingers crossed that goes well. I think at the moment we're sort of doubling up on who wants to audition for what, so I guess we'll find out soon what happens there. In band, we've been learning a few new songs and tidying up our other songs. We're also waiting to hear back from the show office about times and dates for our performance for the show. Through the chair quickly, I have my Gawler show team meeting tomorrow, so I'll harass them to give us the dates and times. I think that's about it. So there should be more updates next month.
Cool. Any questions, comments? No, okay, we'll move on to 8.6 then, which is the youth events update. Abby, do you have anything to say to this?
Our only real events at the moment are the show and our end of year event in November. So I think we're just trying to work through the rest of the year so that we're ready to perform then. But then I think we'll be sorting ourselves out, starting ready for next year by then.
Awesome. Any questions, any discussion? Nope. Okay, we'll move on to item 9 then. Items listed for discussion at future meetings. Can anyone remember what that's? The youth traineeship and what is it? The youth of accessibility. Do we have to? Do we want to leave it as a discussion? Public transport advocacy. Okay, so we have public transport advocacy and the youth traineeship is our 2 items listed for discussion at future meetings. Do we have any others? Anything else to discuss, Sandy?
Just to add to the public transport advocacy, just to add to the discussion that there may be a group formed, because I would very much like to see that happen.
Awesome. Anything else? Nope. Okay, we will move on to 10 questions without notice. Do we have any questions without notice? Nope. On to 11, motions with notice. Do we have any motions without notice from the group? Because we have 1 listed in our agenda. No, the motion without notice is the resignation of a committee member. The motion is that the Gawler Youth Advisory Committee acknowledges the resignation of Lucy Stamachi, and the committee thank Lucy for her service on the Gawler Youth Advisory Committee. And do we have any discussion in regards to the motion? I don't think we ever met her, did we? We did? Okay. Okay. Any other discussion? No, I will ask for a mover then. Xanthi and a seconder, Jack. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. And that we will close the meeting at 7:38. Our next meeting is the 3rd of July, commencing at 7 p.m. We're going to have our training at 6:30, so be here at the normal time. We'll have half-hour training. I will see you all then. Thank you.